Hi class! Today I'm gonna teach you how to use Adobe After Effects to create a simple animation. After Effects is a powerful tool in Adobe Creative Suite for creating motion graphics and visual effects. It allows users to animate, edit, and compose media in 2D or 3D space with many different built-in functions and plugins which can be downloaded from the internet. Today I'm not going to touch those complicated functions but give you a very simple demonstration of how to animate objects in After Effects. Now let's take a look at the animation we're going to create in this tutorial. So basically it's a basketball drops to the ground, bounces up and goes through the basket until it hits the ground. Very simple. Now let's go to the interface of After Effects. I have already created a new project for this and had the background set up. Now I only have to import the basketball. So let's go ahead and do that. Go to File, Import File, select the right one, and click Open. As you can see, it appears on the composition panel on the left. Now drag the basketball to the canvas. Now you can see it also appears in a timeline panel down here at the bottom. I'm going to place it in the middle between the backboard and the basket layers. So when we make the ball go through the basket later, it will not appear on the top, blocking the basket. Alright, now we're ready to make this basketball move. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce a fundamental concept in animation production called keyframe. So what is keyframe? Keyframes are essentially what we use to indicate the key points within an animation. For example, certain poses within a walk or a dance. In After Effects, we will manually create a series of keyframes along the timeline, and the software will do the hard work to fill in the gaps between different keyframes. So now let's do the first keyframe for the basketball. Go to the timeline panel, click the small triangle before the basketball layer, and then click Transform. Here we can see a list of attributes we can manipulate to animate this object. Today we will only introduce position and scale. Both are very basic. Let's deal with position first. Drag the basketball to anywhere on the canvas you want to set as a starting position, and then click this little stopwatch icon next to position on the timeline panel. Now you can see a diamond shape indicator at the very beginning of the timeline. It shows that the first keyframe has been successfully created. Next, let's do the second keyframe. Drag this time indicator along the timeline to around 1/4 of the first second, and then drag the basketball down here to make it hit the ground. That's where we want it to stay for the second keyframe. As you can see, a diamond shape has been auto-created on the timeline, which shows that the second keyframe has been completed. To set the third keyframe, again, let's move the time indicator a little bit further and then drag the basketball to the position you want for this keyframe. For our case, we want the basketball to bounce up here near the backboard. See, another diamond shape show up on the timeline, which indicates the third keyframe has been created. It's easy. Now I'm gonna create a couple more keyframes by repeating the steps I have just explained to map out the path of the basketball as it goes through the basket and hit the ground in the end. Remember, always change the time indicator before you change the position of the object when you create the keyframes. Alright, now we have finished all keyframes for the position. Let's go ahead and preview this animation to check if the basketball moves along the path we designed. To preview this, please press the space button on your keyboard. Okay, perfect. It looks everything is going well. Now let's move on to another animation attribute, the scale. We all know that when a ball drops to the ground, it will be slightly deformed due to the impact. So here at the second keyframe of the position timeline, I'm going to create a keyframe on the scale timeline to show that the basketball squashed a little when it hits the ground. You can change the shape directly on the canvas, or you can change the property of the scale down here in the timeline panel. So I'm going to put 60% on the y-axis as it hits the ground. Okay, now we need to add 2 more keyframes to make the basketball back to its normal shape before and right after it hits the ground. So I will go back a little bit, add a keyframe on a scale, make it 100%, which is the original size of the basketball, and then move forward the time indicator and change the scale to 100% again to make it go back to its normal shape. Alright, now that we're done, let's preview it and see if it works. Perfect. Thank you for watching. I hope this video gives you an easy start on After Effects. If you are interested, do check out more online tutorials and you can learn tons of cool stuff you can do using this powerful tool.